I don't have the sound effect. Dang it. Do it with your mouth.
There you go. Done.
All right, done. Guys, if you've been waiting for home prices to drop, you're not alone. But is that actually going to happen, or is that just the media feeding us a bunch of crap? That's what we're talking about today. When our house price is going to drop. I'm Chris Meshik. I'm a real estate broker in Dripping Springs, Texas, just outside of Austin. And which way? No, I'm on my phone, so I don't know. That guy over there, that's Steve Babcock. He's a mortgage loan originator in Lago Vista, Texas, which is just outside of Austin as well. And, it's after 5 o'clock, a little bit of after hours real estate. The whole point behind the show is to give you some insight into what a realtor and a lender would talk about if they were sitting at a bar having a drink. I am obviously in a car, just got out of an airplane, so I am not drinking, but my buddy here is. What are you drinking, Mr. Babcock? What?
I'm keeping it light today.
Oh, I'm not driving either. I'm not driving. Oh, my man is drinking a fine Pilsner.
That's right.
Says so on the tin. That is a fine Pilsner. Well, man.
Cheers to me.
Cheers to you. Cheers. Knuckle, I got you. Steve, we've been hearing about this impending house crash, pricing crash, housing crash, market crash. I mean, everything is going up, right? All the prices of everything.
So
that's what we're being told.
You are being told one side, as is everyone else, right? A few of us will go out there and read both sides, and I'll tell you what I'm seeing is truly terrifying.
Here we go. Thanks,
Lee optimistic. So it could go very well, but usually what happens when you have a crash in the market, which we've seen, crashes, and it was a pretty bad crash last week. And recovery, of course, right? But usually what you see with a crash, right? People hear crash, they think, oh no, I've lost money. But in reality, what's really happened is a bunch of people hit the sell button, right? They all hit the sell button to sell their positions in the stock market, right? They're going to sell the stock right now, sell, get me my money, I want my cash. Okay. And then typically they take that money and they don't leave it in cash. They deposit it as something else, right? They usually buy something that's a sure thing. Hey man, if the whole market's going to tank, give me 2%. That's better. It's a better return than losing 30%, right? And so they'll go for these really sure. Say again.
I said, yeah, that's what most people do.
And so they'll go for these safe bets, which are called bonds, right? They're the treasury bonds, right? They're the things that the government sells, and the only way to lose money on these is for the whole government to collapse, right? They or if they don't pay you, but that would also collapse the government. So point is that they're probably the safest around. And prior to 2008, it was a sure thing. If there was a crash, man, you'll make a ton of money just going to bonds. Right? Like it's going to happen. People will join you. The prices will change over there. Great. Well, after 2008, when we just started printing money, that has slowed. And recently, like last week, people didn't put money in the bond market. We should have seen much better rates. For a second there, we saw some better rates, but not much better. What we did see was much worse rates. We had one of the fastest rising rates, one of them in history. I think it did like 0.25 or 0.3 in a day, something like that. It could have been more. I didn't really see exactly what it was. I read a lot about it, but I wasn't, focused on the rate. What I was focused on was where the money was going. And what we're really seeing is people not so much not believing in our government, but not believing in our dollar, which is a really scary, it's a very scary thing, right? Okay, well, what else are they going to invest in is like the age-old question. If you're not going to buy the dollar, then who else is going to replace it? And no one's had a solid answer. If you start looking at where the money is going, it's actually going back to home countries. So people trust their countries more than they're trusting ours, which economically shouldn't make sense, which means they're very scared about what's happening. At least a large number of them are. However, we just had a president that was able to secure 0% tariffs from 50 countries in 5 days. So when you think about it that way, that's very exciting. Um, uh, but the big ones are the ones that matter, right? China, the EU, that kind of stuff, and that's not going so well. He's resetting our entire global position, and it's no one is comfortable. No one. If you wanted it and you were begging for it, you're still uncomfortable because you don't know what it's going to look like, right? Is really what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was on board with it, and yeah, it's a little nerve wracking not knowing what's going to shake out.
What
Looking at
should
mortgage rates
be,
that
yeah. What I'm trying to say is that what should be predictable is not happening. So you would expect mortgage rates to get better when
right.
the market crashes. It's not happening. Because it's not happening, people could start panicking about bonds. Hey, man, they're not performing the way I thought they'd perform. Maybe it's not such a safe haven, which is what some other countries have started doing, specifically Japan. They are one of the highest holders of our bonds, and they've started selling our bonds. Them selling our bonds is the one thing that got Trump to stop the trade, or at least to pause the whole tariff tantrum thing. Um, the people think about the stock market as being this big thing, and it is, right? It has, I can't remember how many trillions, 20 trillion, something like that. The bond market has like 180 trillion or something. I mean, so it's order of magnitude larger than the stock market. No one quite understands, but the whole financial system is based on the bond market. And
Well,
the go ahead.
people like retirements and stuff are in the stock market and things, but they're also in the bond market. But what people don't realize is the reason all of that money is in there is because you've got governments, and governments are trying to keep their money safe, long term, and that's where they go. They go to the safe haven, like you're talking about, to the bond market.
Think of
That's why
this.
it's
Think of this. Think of this. Have you heard the burr before?
yeah.
Right. What is that? Tell everybody what that is.
Buy, renovate, refinance, and rent, and then
Right. And then
repeat.
and then repeat, right? So it's rent and then refinance and repeat. In other words, take the
Or
money
yeah,
out of the property, right? Make sure that the loan matches or just below matches the rent. Take all the money out you possibly can, and then buy another one, right? And then let that renter pay down your mortgage. Okay, cool. Um, Now imagine a city like New York City. And with that in mind, I want to ask you how many big buildings do you think are paid off?
no, they're all leveraged to the hilt.
Correct. So something like the entire city of New York City is leveraged to the hilt. Is that what we're discussing here? Okay,
Every metro area.
that in a nutshell describes the bond market. Yeah, you're concerned about your pension, but what about every single structure that exists? Right? And I don't mean everyone, but I pretty much mean everyone. I think what 30% of people have their homes paid off, and those are pretty much it. That's about it. You start looking at commercial real estate, sure, maybe some, but not most. Right? You
Not
can you
many.
can use the loan to write off interest and things like that and deductions, and you just everything is leveraged to the hilt. Our entire system is based on basically the bond market. And if the bond market starts losing faith, I didn't say that correctly, but if the people stop losing or start losing faith in the bond market, it would mean that our jobs are going to be very, very interesting.
Yep.
Rates could
Yes, sir.
skyrocket.
Yeah. Well, that goes back to your double digit. I mean, you talked about it last year at some point. Like, it's a
Well,
possibility.
that was a few years ago at this point, but no, man, that was a different situation. I wasn't
Oh, yeah. I guess
expecting the entire world to be reset through tariffs, right? And then to have taxes eliminated through a 10% standard tariff. I mean, didn't see that one coming. Never predicted that. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, however you get there, it still leads to the same thing, right?
Chaos. Yes, we have chaos right now.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna, and guys, I apologize that I'm on the road. I can't pop this article up, but I want to read through the first part of this because it talks about that. This is a Forbes article. It was updated a week ago. Housing market predictions: when will home prices drop? And that's the whole point behind what we were talking about today. But it says, as we move into the spring housing market, it remains challenging, with record high home prices, stubbornly elevated mortgage rates prolonging buyer struggles. Yet positive signals have emerged in the form of a deceleration in home price growth and decreasing mortgage rates. Okay, so that's a good thing. Even so, high cost of home ownership will likely remain the norm in the coming months. These high costs are sustained in part by Trump administration tariff and immigration policies that are expected to fuel inflation and raise home builder costs. Okay. And like I can go into this, but guys, in a nutshell, it's saying when are home prices going to drop? Spoiler alert, they're not going to. Every Forbes article, every Bloomberg article, every article you find is talking about home prices escalating in the U.S. by about 3% annually this year. Okay, that is an average housing market. If you have 3%, what's the word I'm looking for, Steve?
Appreciation.
Appreciation. Thank you. Thank you. So that's kind of where I wanted to start with it. Just as okay, it's another article where when a price is going to drop, they're not going to. At least not precipitously. Like
let's just throw this out there. I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you because of what I
no,
started with. Let's say people lose faith in the bond market and the dollar.
Yeah.
That means the value of our dollar goes down. Like, you know how you go to Mexico and when I went back there in spring break 20 years ago, the exchange rate was 10 to 1. So a dollar would get me 10 pesos. I don't know what it is today, right? But imagine if you had a peso and you came over here and your 1 peso got you $10. Right? That's what we're looking at if this continues, which means the value of
Steve.
your home, well, the
What
value would stay
happened?
the same. Yeah, the value would stay the same, but the
What's
cost
the
would go way up.
cost?
The price tag would go way up.
That's right. So you could effectively buy less with the same dollars.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Well,
But in other words,
the
prices won't come down. Let's put it that way. Sorry to interrupt again.
That's right. No, that's good. I want to pop back into this because you and I talked about this over the weekend. This one part of the article, these high costs are sustained in part by the Trump administration tariffs and immigration policies that are expected to fuel inflation. Let's talk a second about that article that I sent you with the tariffs. Do you remember what this was a study done by a university? I can't remember off the top of my head. Do you remember what the percentage of building materials that goes into a new home that are imported from other countries?
I think it was like 11% of the bulk of a house is made up of outside the United States, and 89% is within the United States.
That's what I thought it was. It was 7.9% of a house is actually imported. Yeah, on average, 7.9.
It was a small amount. It wasn't going to double the prices of homes. Let's put it that way.
No. Well, that was my point behind this. So they're talking about, it's going to stay high because of the tariffs. Guys, if we have 25% tariffs on 7.9% of the cost of a house, that means the price of the house will go up 1.9%. 1.9%.
This is one of those things where you have to read the article, not just the headline, right? I read one the other day. It was something like United States will suffer 17% loss in tourism from Canada. But then when you dug into the article, you find that only 17% of Canadians have decided they're not going to do their regular trip. And the reality was that the United States makes like 3% of its income from Canadian people visiting, right? So they still get 97% everything. So it's just not that I'm trying to take sides on this, but headlines can be extremely deceiving.
But and that's the thing, right? It's like anything else. Data's undefeated. I mean, you can have statistics and they can be lies, but actual data is undefeated. I think my
stories really sway people more than data.
My mathematician's wife's kind of getting squirmy over there with me saying that. But anyway, statistics can be altered. Data can be altered depending on how questions are asked and stuff like that. Oh, data can be biased, I'm hearing over here.
Data can be very biased.
But what's not biased is how much, well, I guess it could be. Could you bias a data set about how much stuff is imported into the cost of a new house?
So
that seems pretty straightforward.
It depends on who's being asked the question. It should be straightforward. It should be straightforward, but today it's not. It just isn't. Right?
Lies, damn lies, and statistics.
Yeah. What was that report I just read the other day that like if you were to ask a scientist to do a report on a certain thing, they'll do the report, but when the company's hiring that scientist, they always find the report is like favorable towards the company, right? You know, and there's like there was I think it was Lipitor or some sort of cancer drug that claimed that it had like a 30% better You know, it's 30% better than something. Okay, great. And then when you look into the details, that was on one minute study in one section of the country that only happened one time, and everybody else had like a 0.2% increase, but they used the 30% in the commercials so that everybody gets on the drug. And the reality is it actually hurts people more than it helps when they really did the huge study, like which was releasing it. Dude, there's all sorts of stuff like that. You never trust stats ever. But we quote them all the time on the show to make us look smart. You know, that's definitely something we won't stop doing.
I read a stat. I mean, I like to think that when I look at data in the MLS and I give it to you guys, like I try to look at it from all sides and make sure it's not biased. I mean, I guess I'm biased to thinking that, you know, did the market, was there a market correction in pricing in Austin? Yes. Was it bigger than I thought it was going to be? Yes. Did I find out a couple of weeks ago that a major reason for that might be that builders are trying to build houses cheaper, and those are the only thing that's selling now, and so it's lowering the median value of a home in Austin? Yeah,
you can't see all the numbers. Yeah, you can't.
Yeah, you can't. Like, you just get more information and you digest it as you go.
This is the great example of this about statistics not really showing you the whole story is the ghost in the house or the death in the house. Right, man, it looks great on paper, right? And then you get there, and the neighbors are like, "Oh, did you hear there was a triple homicide in there?" You know, and you're like, "Wait, what?" You know, right? Well, you don't really get all the answers that you're really looking for, you know, just on the numbers. But yeah.
Oh, and by the way, if anybody's wondering, no, you don't have to disclose a death in the house unless it was caused by a condition of the house. There you go. There's your real estate tip for the day.
Right. So if I walk into a home and I murder 20 people with a rifle, and then it's sold the next week, you don't have to tell people that 20 people were murdered in the house, right?
That's right. That's right. You just have to clean it really well.
Just wanted to be a crazy example, but you just have to clean it really well. Do I actually have to clean it? Is there a law that states it has to be cleaned before I resell it?
No, it's not. As your realtor, I would just caution against that because it could, it could damage your value.
That's true. That definitely is true. Talk about numbers. Yes.
I ask every seller this. Look, do you want to sell it in the condition that it's in, or would you like to make upgrades?
Apparently, that's a really great side business. People cleaning up biohazard waste areas, like when somebody gets shot and they have to come in and clean up. Nobody does it. There's who do you call? Go open the yellow pages for the bio. There's nobody around, right?
Guido. That's who you call. What are you talking about?
Look that up. There's this girl that I saw that started it. She made like $40,000 her first month through like 3 different cleanups. She knew somebody in the police force that was like, "Oh, we'll give you work," and she's doing like $2 million a month now with like 4 crews or something. It's crazy. Yeah.
Oh my God. Hey guys, this is why you watch this show, because we just go off the rails.
Technically, we make 100% commissions, so we are entrepreneurs to a certain degree.
Winter house price is going to drop. By the way, start a biohazard cleanup, and then we'll go house shopping for you because you're making $2 million a month. Let's go now.
Actually, you won't need me in that case. Won't be taking a mortgage.
Holy crap! So anyway, man, I mean, so let's talk interest rates for a little bit. And guys, we always give you the average interest rates as quoted by Mortgage News Daily. It's not a promise to lend, blah, blah, blah. Insert all lawyer speak here so Steve can't get in trouble. But the average rates were down to around 6.6. And then all this crap, I'm just saying that all this crap with the tariffs happened and they bumped right back up to an average of around 7. That's
right around where we've been all year, right?
Yeah, it just has not moved. I mean, like, it was getting better, and then it just went back, and so we're really in the same that we've been, right?
Yeah, if you look at a graph and like this is 8%, and then this is 5%, not 5, maybe 6. We've just been doing this over the last year, and that's just. We're right around the 7s, and we just haven't really left them. We've gone up, we've gone down, we've gone up, we've gone down. We're right where we were. I mean, we're just doing this, again, there's the market does not like uncertainty, and usually the bond market does like uncertainty. When things get crazy in stocks, it's usually good
everybody
for bonds.
Floods in. Yeah.
And if this were 2006, let's say, and we had the same stuff happening. Technically, we could have been at around a 6% interest rate by now, maybe 6.25. But
the spread between is so big right now between 10-year treasuries and the mortgage rate. I mean, it's such a huge spread.
I went to a mortgage market guide today, and they were showing the rate was it was just right under 7. So it was right around 7. And again, that's not my rate, everyone. That's the mortgage market guide rate
that is not
I found online today. You can Say good.
That's not your rate either, everyone.
No, nor is it a promise to lend. But yeah, man, it's for all of the noise out there. Not much has happened for bonds.
Yeah, yeah, it really hasn't. And again, for all of the noise, and we're going to repeat noise, things are kind of status quo. For all of the noise that tariffs are going to increase the price of houses 30%, it's staying about the same. Even in a worst case scenario, if it goes up 25%, it's staying about the same.
Well, we'll see what it looks like in the next week or so. What I'm terrified of is that the bonds didn't do better. The fact that people aren't putting their money there means they're putting it elsewhere, and when you put it elsewhere, those have forces along with them, right? They will change things. So
that's right.
We'll see though. I'll be looking forward to next week. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm actually seeing if there's going to be a move, more because we're seeing a little bit of a bump in gold. Gold, I think, is again at an all-time high or right close to it again today. I thought that's what I had read earlier, but I'm curious, and I'm not seeing it yet because a lot of times people will leave the market and go into physical assets, gold being one, but nobody can deliver gold right now, and only other physical assets that we have are real estate holdings and things like that. Well, fine watches have not increased in value over the last 6 months. And real estate kind of seems to be staying the same. So I'm curious if some of this land, like large pieces of land, is going to start selling just where people are trying to find a place to put their cash. I don't know.
There are real market forces, and then there are created market forces. I have a question for you that I don't expect an answer to. But do you remember when the price of eggs were going up like crazy?
Yep.
Did you also notice that the price of chicken was completely unaffected?
My wife and I had this exact conversation. We were in HEB, and I'm like, why can you buy chicken thighs for $1.99 a pound still, but eggs have gone up 3x? Things that make you go, like kids in the 80s, old things that make you go, right? And look, man, I'm not a conspiracy theorist by any means, but all the sensationalized headlines, if they just told the truth, I don't think we would see all these fluctuations. I think if people knew the actual truth instead of what somebody wants you to believe and like knee-jerk reaction and all this other shit, I don't think we would have all this volatility. I mean, what did we just say? Interest rates have been the same.
Yeah, they wouldn't.
Yeah, well, fair. But yeah, man, interest rates have remained roughly the same for what? How long? 2 years? Within a 1.5% band. Cost of housing has remained roughly the same. I don't know. What do I know? I'm just a realtor, and I'm just trying to sell houses for a living, right? I just need need to make money. I'm that scummy bastard that's selling real estate, making dreams come true and stuff. Oh, all right, man. You got anything else?
No. I'm very worried about the next couple of weeks, but we'll see how it looks.
So are you worried again? You're more worried about what happens to bonds and if you don't see them settle back down?
Think of it this way. Yes, let's say the market drops a drastic, 40%, like it has in prior crashes, right? Typically, then your rates would shoot up. I didn't mean that. I meant shoot down. And when they shoot down, then people can say, "Crap! I lost all my money in the market. At least I can borrow from my house to make do." But if we have a market that crashes with rates that either go up or stay the same, I don't know, man. It could be pretty ugly.
Well, and that's funny that you say that because I didn't know what to make of this article that I was reading last week until you just said that, because what it was talking about is how with steady interest rates, there's no foreseeable refi boom on the future. And I didn't know why they were talking about it, but now I understand.
It's a lifeline. Yeah, for most people. But it's not a lifetime when it's 7 or 8%, then it becomes a burden, huge burden.
Yeah. I mean, and if that's your only way to get cash out, if you have a 3.5% interest rate, but you need $100,000 and you're going to refi it at 7, okay, shit, that's not great.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
We'll see how things go.
My wife just said she needed to drink right now.
Though, on the flip side, Chris, if these tariffs work out and suddenly we get some deal with China and the market likes it, it could it could renew our currency's strength in a way we've never seen before. And if that happens, we could then see rates go way down. So if this works, it could be one of the greatest moments in history, truly. If it doesn't work, it could be one of the scariest moments in history. And it's a gamble, man. It's a huge gamble.
Yeah.
So it's
And I
a
think
little
that's
scary.
yeah. And I think that's the overall sentiment. Like, change is scary.
You've mortgaged your entire house that was just paid off, and it was your retirement, and you just put it all on black on roulette, and the wheel is spinning, and we get to see where it lands. If it
I
hits
don't know that I
black,
would,
bro, you're the smartest Bitcoin millionaire we've ever seen, right? If it hits red, just don't tell your wife, and try to hide it the best you can, like shit. Excuse me.
try to find some money to leave the country so your wife doesn't find you. Yeah.
Yeah, kidding about the wife part. I would tell her first and then deal with the consequences, but that's just me.
Oh man. All right. Well, let's leave it there. Let's find out. Do we have any important information? Any important government people talking this week?
Oh my God, I gotta watch the news like 3 times a day just to keep up. No, nothing I can say
They're
that
like-
won't be biased in any way. So no.
Well, fair. Okay. I just didn't know if Powell or if we had numbers coming out.
Yeah, inflation is down, believe it or not, but it's a month old, so it hasn't factored any of this tariff crap in. So anybody talking about, oh, the inflation's down, you are rolling a dice on how smart you sound, because next month you could sound like an idiot. We'll see how that goes.
And let's be fair. We always say it. Inflation is not down. The rate of inflation growth is down. Let's just make sure that.
Well, what we're seeing is possible deflation.
Right. I've heard a couple of people talking about stagflation again here lately, which I don't know. We'll see.
Well, brother, if the thing that I think could possibly be happening to the dollar happens, we're all going to make triple the salary, so that it'll be fine. Stagflation won't be an issue.
Man, that right there, that's the most positive outlook I've ever had you say any time during this show.
I didn't say our values would go up. I just said our salaries would go up.
Oh, fair. All right, there you go. Vegas was not built on winners.
No.
That's a fact. That is a fact. But all right, well, guys, again, next Monday, I don't know if we'll talk about murdering 20 people, but we'll probably.
I might.
You do realize YouTube is probably going to hide this video now, right? I just want you to know, and nobody's going to see it. So the 50 people that are watching right now, y'all are the only ones that are ever going to get to hear this wit and banter.
It's my fault. It's my fault.
It is your. We'll be back
blame
next
being
month.
born in the 80s before the internet. That's what I blame.
We cared, yeah, before anybody got all hurt and bent out of shape about things.
And if anybody's younger and grew up with the internet, you can rephrase what I've said to say it was mom and dad's fault. I blame my parents.
Long live Gen X, man. Guys,
They should
we'll
have
see
had
you.
internet.